All right. Welcome to another episode of Spare Time. I'm Carlos, your host. And this podcast is brought to you by Umpqua Survival, coolest store in town. Got a pretty cool guest today, local celebrity, Alek Skarlotos. How's it going, bud?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. And, of course, my buddy Mike.
Hello. Back again.
So what's going on? So, Alek, for people that don't know you, introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yes, my name is Alek Skarlotos. I kind of have a interesting background, but I moved up to Oregon in 2010, joined the Oregon National Guard, did a deployment to Afghanistan in 2015, and shortly after that, I was one of the 3 Americans that helped stop a terrorist attack on a train to Paris. And we did a book and a movie with Clint Eastwood, and now I'm into politics because I decided too many people liked me.
Nice. What's going on with you, Mike?
Lots of work, same old stuff.
Yeah?
Yeah. Daily grind.
Right on. You were born in California, I understand?
Don't hold it against me.
Whereabouts?
I was born in Castro Valley in the Bay Area,
Sure.
And then I grew up in Sacramento until I was about 15 or 16, and then I moved up here before my junior year of high school.
Nice.
Yeah. It's always funny being in Oregon because everyone's like, oh, yeah, I hate California. Like, oh, where are you from? They're like, oh, Long Beach.
I'm from
You
California.
know, it's like, oh, yeah, I hate California too. But,
Mike and I are actually like, well, no, Mike's not. I'm actually born right here in Roseburg.
No.
But it's funny when I hear people complain about California. I was like, if it wasn't for California, we wouldn't even exist.
Yeah.
Because everybody you meet is from California. So
yeah, it is kind of funny.
this town would be dead without Californians.
Definitely.
So what were you like growing up?
I had a really good childhood. I mean, that's kind of how I got to know Spencer, the other guy in the terrorist attack, and that's kind of how all of that came into play, was really our childhood. I mean, I went to a little private Christian school, and Spencer and I met Anthony, and I had actually only met Spencer because we happened to be neighbors. My mom got a house when I was like in kindergarten, and our neighbors were the Stone family, and all their kids were like the same age as me and my brothers. And, my mom and Spencer's mom became really good friends, and we just had a really good, friendship where we just kind of go to each other's houses unannounced,
Sure.
Doors were always unlocked, and just kind of hop the fence, go to each other's backyards.
You had one of those childhood friendships that was it wasn't your choice because your moms were friends. So
yeah, kind of, more or less. Yeah. But I mean, like I said, all of our, him and his brother and sister were like the same age as me and my brothers, so everyone kind of got along really well. And, we did all sorts of young kid stuff. We did like paintball and airsoft and stuff like that. So that kind of was my, preface into getting involved in like firearms and things like that. And, good thing I did.
You never hear about that anymore.
No.
When I was a kid, I remember for most of my childhood, I was up in Portland area, but I'd come down here and I'd stay with my aunt and uncle and my grandparents for like a month during the summer, and all the neighborhood kids, we'd get together and play war or whatever.
Yeah.
And what was funny is most of us were poor, so there was like 2 or 3 fake little toy guns, and everybody else just had like sticks that were shaped like guns. And then you spent half the day fighting over who was dead and who wasn't dead. So,
we were just dumb redneck kids, and we actually used BB guns.
Yeah.
That would probably hurt more than airsoft. Yeah.
I know. It was like,
oh yeah, dude. Have you
then
ever
laser
taken
tag.
a BB out of your
I think laser tag came out, and it's like, what? You can do this without getting hurt? Holy shit.
We did CCMKs too in the Army, like the simunition stuff, and those hurt pretty good too. Those will, if you get shot point blank with one of those, it'll like bury in your skin. It's pretty terrible.
Sean and my other guys, they've been trying to convince the police department and sheriff's department here in town to use them for Op 4.
Oh, I would love that. Count me in.
Yeah,
that'd be super fun.
Yeah, they've been like, let us lead the Op 4 force. And I was like, they use like simunition. You guys are going to get the shit shot out of you.
Hell yeah.
But they're down, so.
Not if we shoot the shit out of them first.
Yeah. obviously they think they have better training, so they might actually have better training.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you never know.
Yeah.
It'd be kind of fun. It'd be fun to try.
Yeah. So what kind of stuff were you into as a kid, other than, playing guns and that stuff?
Just, stuff like that. I played football, soccer, lacrosse. Didn't start lacrosse till I moved up here, and that was a ton of fun. It's like hockey on grass, basically. It's a really fun sport. And then after that, once I graduated high school, I went to UCC, was kind of, frankly, just bored and didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. So I joined the National Guard. A friend that I met at UCC talked me into it. And so I joined the National Guard, which honestly, it kind of held me back from doing some stuff. I got recruited to try out for special forces in basic training. But I couldn't do it because the National Guard wouldn't release me because we had a deployment coming up. So I wasn't able to do that, unfortunately. But hindsight being 2020, everything happens for a reason. And honestly, for only doing 5 years in the National Guard, I got everything out of it that I wanted. I got a deployment to Afghanistan. I got sniper school. I got air assault school, basic leadership course. So I did a lot for only being in the National Guard for 5 years. And frankly, I kind of joined because I wanted to go to sniper school. And even my recruiter was like, it's kind of hard. Like, not a lot of people get into the sniper section, and then even fewer people go to school. And I was able to do both of those things. So I checked all the boxes I wanted to check. And so
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was a really good experience.
My dad retired from the military from 35 years in the military.
Mm-hmm.
And the last 31 years of it was National Guard, but he was active duty National Guard. He was a recruiter forever, and then he retired as a first sergeant. So,
yeah, one of my friends that I went to, my spotter in sniper school was a recruiter out of Medford, or at least he was last time I checked in with him. But yeah, nice. Seems like a pretty sweet gig, to be honest.
Yeah, for sure. So what? Obviously, you said you were just kind of bored, so you joined the military. What was your job, and what all did you do in there? And
so I was just infantry. I went to basic training in 2012. Summer of 2012, I think. And then shortly thereafter found out that we were going to Afghanistan, and then deployed to Afghanistan in 2014-15. We just did force protection, like basically base security, base defense at Bagram Airfield, this little kind of secretive part of Bagram Airfield. So we got to meet a lot of cool people. But we frankly didn't get to do anything cool. We just got to basically protect the base where all the cool people worked out of. So, we got to meet a lot of, Delta Force guys. I think even a couple Navy SEALs, Rangers, TACPs, pretty much Special Forces had their own separate FOB on Bagram. But the one that we protected was where everyone else worked. So it was really interesting. So after that, I talked to Spencer from back home, and he was stationed in the Azores in Portugal. Well, it's not really Portugal. It's an island in the middle of the Atlantic, but it's owned by Portugal. So I figured it was close to Portugal. And so I was like, I'm coming off of this Afghanistan deployment. I want to do this European vacation. You're basically already in Europe, so let's meet up and do it. And I invited a couple other of my friends and my younger brother, and none of them wanted to go with us. So he invited Anthony, our other friend that we'd known from that Christian private school in Sacramento. And, he decided to come with us, and they kind of did their own stereotypical backpacking trip around Europe. And I did I just kind of hung out with this German girl for like 10 days. And then they were passing through Germany, and we weren't the best at like texting back and forth because we were both having our own separate vacations. And then they were already past Germany by the time he texted me back, and he's like, "Hey, we're actually on the way to Amsterdam now. Just get on a train and meet us there." So I ended up getting on a bus, actually, and we met them in Amsterdam. And it was just kind of a trip because I hadn't seen Spencer in a couple of years at that point, and I hadn't seen Anthony since middle school, which was probably like, 7 years before that. And so then all three of us are back together again as childhood friends, but we're in Amsterdam.
That's weird.
And
That's-
so
that's-
it was a lot of fun. You know, we were kind of having so much fun in Amsterdam that I won't talk about. That
Copy.
we debated staying there a couple more days, and we had already bought our train tickets for Paris, so we decided not to buy tickets twice and to save money and just move on with the trip and go to Paris. And that was kind of the first weird coincidence that put us in that time and place. And then we go to the train platform, and there's an elderly British gentleman waiting to get on the train, and his daughter asked if we could help him with his bags. And so we did, and got them all settled, and kind of just ended up in the middle of the train. And we just kind of, sat there and we're fine. Our tickets were for first class, but we didn't know where first class was on a train. We didn't really care. And then after the train started moving, we realized that the Wi-Fi wasn't working. And so we sent Spencer up to find first class and to see if the Wi-Fi was working, and he did. And so the Wi-Fi was working. So we moved up to the front of the train, and I even switched Spencer's seats. I took the window seat. He took the aisle seat, which will all come into play later. And just kind of settled in for a couple hours. Spencer and Anthony had like a drink and then put like some headphones on and went to sleep. I was up messaging some friends back home, watching our progress on Apple Maps, seeing, what part of Belgium we were in or wherever. And so we stopped in Belgium, Brussels actually, and switched out train crew. And turns out that's where the terrorist got on board the train. And we picked back up, and just as we were crossing the border from Belgium into France, I heard kind of like a gunshot and breaking glass come from behind me. And I didn't really know what to think of it at the time because it didn't sound exactly like a gunshot. It was a confined space, and, we were in Europe, so I didn't think it was a gunshot.
Yeah.
And so I kind of put my head up and I'm like, what was that? And then a train employee comes running away from the noise at a full sprint. And keep in mind, we're at the front of a train. There's no place for him to run to. So I turn around and see what he's running away from. And there's a shirtless man with an AK-47. And, just kind of felt like time stopped. Your heart sinks and you're just like, there's no way this is actually happening. But I knew, that it was happening. You just, in a state of disbelief.
That's the old shit moment right there.
Yeah, exactly. It's exactly what I felt. I was just like, no fucking way that this is real. But I knew it was. And you just get an instant shot of adrenaline. I duck behind the seat. Spencer is waking up at that point from all the commotion. He turns around, sees what I see, takes his headphones off, ducks down next to me. And I just kind of tap him on the shoulder and I'm like, let's go. And I kind of, meant like, let's go when he gets a little closer. Let's go when he kills a few people and has to reload. But I hit him on the shoulder and I'm like, let's go. And then the next thing I know,
He went.
Don't tell me twice.
I was ducked behind the seats. Like I'm literally peeking in between
Damn it.
the two seats that we were sitting on. And I'm looking at the terrace. I'm like, hey, let's go. And then he's already crossing my vision.
Oh, shit.
Because, you get tunnel vision from the adrenaline.
Sure.
And so I didn't even realize he had left until he crossed my path of vision and he was already almost to the terrace. So I'm like, oh shoot, he went. I didn't believe it. So I get up and follow him. And by the time I get there, he had tackled the terrorist and they were on the ground wrestling. The AK-47 was on the ground, so I picked it up. Spencer kind of turned the terrorist over and was trying to get him into a chokehold. And Spencer was kind of behind him and the terrorist was facing me. And Spencer was kind of leaning against a seat. And so I just picked up the AK-47 and tried to shoot the terrorist just like in the stomach, basically, with the AK. And it was on safety, and it was probably a good thing that it was, because, Full Metal Jacket 7.62 by 39 at point blank probably would have went right through the terrorist and into Spencer also.
Almost definitely.
But, at the time, we were just, life or death, so let's roll the dice. But anyway.
I imagine in that situation, you probably...
That quick, you don't even think about it.
I really did.
Yeah. Nobody would.
And anyway, so the gun was still on safety, and before I could mess with it, the terrorist had pulled out a handgun and was trying to line the handgun up with Spencer's head, who's still behind him, choking him. And Spencer's like, you know, he's got a gun, so I drop the AK-47. I jump on the handgun, pry it out of his hands. I hit him in the face a few times with it. And then Spencer yells, he's got a knife, get him off me. And the terrorist then pulled out an extendable, breakable box cutter, you know, like 6 inches, basically, and was slashing Spencer on the back of his neck.
Fuck.
And so then Spencer kicks him off of him. We kind of wrestle him. Anthony had joined us at this point. We're just trying to, you know, punch him, kick him, do whatever we can do to not get stabbed with the box cutter.
And this whole time,
confined space.
and not knowing if there's somebody else coming in there too.
We weren't even thinking about that yet, to be honest. We were just dealing with the guy that we had in front of us. But we finally get the box cutter away from him somehow. Not even sure how that happened. And then, you know, I still have the handgun, so I put it to the back of his head, and I'm like, stop resisting. I don't know if he spoke English, so it probably didn't help, but I found out at the trial, the prosecution asked me if I knew any French, and I said no. And he says, do you know what stop is in French? And I said no, and he said stop. And I'm like, okay, so
there we
had
go.
to have known what we were saying.
So he knew. You
but
proved
anyway,
it.
he kept fighting us. So the gun that he had was an FN copy of a Browning high power, and so it functions pretty much the same as a 1911. I had a 1911, so I took the gun off safety, and the hammer was cocked back, and so I figured it was loaded, put it to the back of his head, and pulled the trigger, and nothing happened. And so I just figured there wasn't...
It's like the luckiest terrorist.
No shit.
I mean, everyone got lucky, really. But so I figure it's not loaded, so I got to cycle it. And when I cycle it, I notice that it's empty and there's no magazine in it. So I pull the trigger again and just throw the handgun as far away as possible. And what had actually happened was, before we had gotten involved, I mentioned the terrorist got on the train in Brussels. And what had happened was he went into the bathroom, got all of his weapons ready, watched a jihadist video on his phone, put his backpack on reverse. So the backpack was on the front of his body, open with his magazines, and then he comes out of the bathroom ready to go, and he was in there for so long that there was 2 passengers waiting to use the restroom, Mark and Damien. And Damien immediately realizes what's going on, and he basically just grabs the terrorist by the neck with the AK-47 pinned between their bodies, and Mark, the other gentleman, tries to get the AK-47 away from him.
And that was the first rounds that you heard.
Yeah. And so what happened was a train employee runs up thinking it's a regular fight and breaks them up. And then he sees the AK-47 and realizes what's going on. And the train employee runs to the front of the train. Damien runs to the back of the train. Mark ends up getting the AK-47 and starting to run to the front of the train. And what I think happened was the terrorist grabs the handgun from his waistband, grips it too high, and accidentally ejects the magazine.
Yeah.
And then he shoots the one round in the chamber that ends up hitting Mark. And that's the gunshot and breaking glass that I heard, followed by the train employee that broke up the fight running past us to the front of the train.
Makes sense, yeah.
And so at this point, we're getting pretty frustrated, especially Spencer. And so he grabs the terrorist again, gets him in another chokehold on the other side of the aisle. And I pick the AK-47 back up off of the ground, and I just start hitting the terrorist in the head with the muzzle of the AK-47. It was like a slant break Draco AK.
Ouch.
And so I'm just trying to get the slant break to hit him in the temple. And, they're moving around and fighting a bunch. And so, I'm just kind of hitting him wherever I can. Yeah. And after the fact, I asked the FBI if he had any skull fractures or anything like that. And they're like, nope. And so I was kind of disappointed by that.
I wasn't hitting him hard enough.
Yeah. I mean, I was going for it too, but
we were surprised too, pussy.
Yeah. But long story short, I hit him a couple times, and then he kind of stops fighting, and then I watch him go unconscious from Spencer's chokehold, and then basically Spencer is pretty upset about the whole situation.
So this,
I'm sure.
the whole time
his
that-
neck's all sliced.
they
up.
just
Exactly.
kept going with the train, huh?
Well, they actually stopped for a second because some passengers pulled the emergency brake.
Yeah.
And then once they realized what was going on, they just picked back up and went to the closest train station.
Stop. Yeah.
But Spencer chokes him unconscious, and he's pretty angry, so he's still choking him even after he goes unconscious. And a train employee comes up and is like, "Hey,
Stop.
like he's unconscious, you can stop." And we just told that guy politely to fuck off.
Yeah. No, he's still fighting. Look.
And so, honestly, Spencer probably would have killed him because he was still choking him. But then I look up and I see Mark, who I didn't know at the time, trying to stand up in the middle of the aisle with blood squirting out of his neck across the aisle.
Damn it.
And being the good friend that I am, I'm once again like, Spencer, go get that guy. Because Spencer was an EMT in the Air Force, so it was kind of up his lane. He also did Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for fun, and so everything worked out for a reason.
No shit.
And so Spencer then crawls over, puts kind of 2 fingers into Mark's neck wound, hit his carotid artery, and kind of pinches his artery shut, stops the bleeding as best he can. To be totally honest, I thought Mark was going to die just because the amount of blood that he had lost already. I mean, he was literally bleeding from his carotid artery for like the whole 2.5 minutes while we're fighting this terrorist. So he was laying in a pool of his own blood that was larger than his torso. And so I kind of just step over him with the AK-47. I tell a British guy to watch the terrorist and stand on his neck if he, starts to wake up. I don't know what to tell him. And so I took the AK-47 and I'm thinking that, maybe there's another terrorist or at least another wounded passenger in the back that we didn't know about. Because again, this all came from behind us. So as far as we knew, he might have killed a few people before he got to our train car. And honestly, I also just didn't want to leave a loaded AK-47 unattended in a train full of French people. And so I took the AK-47, I take it off safety, and I'm going to load it because I think that it's not loaded since no one got shot with it to my knowledge. And when I do that, a round ejects from the chamber and lands on the seat next to me.
The whole fucking
and I'm
time.
like, that's unusual. And I can see just from looking at it that there's a dent in the back of the primer.
Primer strike.
Yep. I pick it up and sure enough, it's not a light strike or anything like that. It's just a nice solid.
Did you get to keep that?
No, it went to evidence. I should have.
Oh man.
I'll ask for it one of these days.
Yeah.
And you said that right before that trip was the first time you had ever handled an AK.
You're right.
Yeah. I just got an AK-47. So luckily I knew how they functioned. I had a 1911, so I knew how an FN high power functioned.
Pretty amazing, dude.
Yeah, I mean, everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
And
I'm still wondering you say that. Because
I 100% believe that.
It sounds like
I've always believed that.
Well, I mean, even, me.
How could you not believe that?
Yeah, me owning those guns, Spencer doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and being an EMT. I mean, everything that we didn't realize would happen, we didn't realize we'd ever use these skills in real life. And then it's life or death when we actually do use them for the first time.
And at the time, you guys are just a bunch of
kids on vacation.
Trying to party it up on a vacation.
Yeah, we obviously didn't see that coming at all.
Yeah.
So when you guys finally stopped and everything, the reality of how did the police force how did that all go down?
Yeah, I'll get there.
Were they?
So I checked the rest of the train with the AK, came back, unloaded it. The British guy that I left the terrorist with had kind of hog-tied him on his own, which was really good. I kind of helped Spencer with Mark's medical care, cut his T-shirt off and did like a blood sweep and looked for any other injuries. And so we were basically alone on the train handling that for about 20 minutes until we got to a train station.
Damn.
And I had, unloaded all the weapons, put his backpack and all the weapons right in front of the door so that the police would know that it was like resolved
instantly. Yeah.
I'm sure they had communications with the train.
Hoping they would. Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't want them to shoot me or anything. Especially since, I was walking around the train with an AK-47.
Yeah, you were probably scaring the shit out of everybody else too.
I think some people were kind of nervous, but
a little.
I didn't want any of them to touch it. I think one of the train employees asked me like put the gun down, and I was like, "Nah, I'm good, dude. I'm not
that ain't happening.
setting this down anytime soon." And yeah, we just kind of handled the situation for like 20 minutes on our own, which was kind of bizarre because the effect of the adrenaline was really interesting because Spencer was super pissed off. Anthony and I were kind of like really cavalier about the whole situation. There's like a YouTube video that Anthony took right about the time that I came back from the train with the AK-47. And we're like making jokes. I was like, dude, I tried to shoot him. And Anthony's like, he did. And then Spencer's like, you know, I'm looking for the handgun that I had tossed. And Spencer's like trying to keep Mark alive on the ground. And, you know, we're all just like, you know, kind of throwing jokes back and forth.
Pretty
like it's no big
surreal.
deal. Yeah, it was really surreal. And I mean, it really took a long time for it to settle in. But we pull into the train station finally. A bunch of police and EMTs come on board. Anthony and I kind of hop off because we needed to make room because all of this happened in one train car. So it was really compact. And so Anthony and I hop off. A detective kind of greets us and tells us just to sit on a bench and wait for him. And then Spencer, I don't think they realized the seriousness of what happened with Mark. So Spencer kind of alerted them and did like a medical changeover with Mark. And he went to the hospital. Spencer went to the hospital for his own neck wounds because he, again,
with the knife,
because he had a defensive wound on his thumb. His thumb was basically completely severed except for the bone. And then he had 2 deep neck wounds, only about like an inch from his carotid artery. And so he went to the hospital for that.
And you said it was a box knife?
Yeah, like the extendable, breakable kind. But he extended it all the way.
Like the cheapo
exactly.
box knives.
And he had extended it all the way like 6 inches and was just slashing. And so they went to the hospital. The terrorist, the British gentleman, myself and Anthony went to the police station. We got questioned. The British guy allowed us to use his phone to call home. I called my dad, didn't pick up. I called my mom. She didn't pick up. I called my younger brother. He finally picked up and I told him what happened. And he was like, okay, I'll tell mom. And then he promptly went back to sleep for another 20 minutes.
Sure he did. That's what little brothers do.
It's like, whatever. You're fucking with me.
And then my mom came back from Joyce's house, actually Spencer's mom's house. And then they found out. And we went actually, like I said, got questioned a couple times. I initially didn't tell the French police that I tried to shoot the terrorist in the back of the head because I wasn't sure on their self-defense laws.
There you go.
But it was all good. And then we got a phone call from President Obama the next day.
Yeah.
And it started to kind of turn into a big media story. We reunited with Spencer. We took a convoy to the American Embassy, which was just a really cool experience. I got to sleep in the...
that was in France.
In Paris, proper. Because we had stopped in this little town called Arras in the very northern tip of France, kind of up by the Belgian border. But yeah, we went to the embassy in Paris, and I got to sleep in the bed that Charles Lindbergh slept in when he flew across the Atlantic.
Oh, wow.
And just a really cool experience. And it was the first night that all 3 of us were back together after the terrorist attack.
Yeah.
And so we were just kind of basically partying it up in this like 17th century mansion.
In history.
With stocked champagne. I mean, it was just like...
At any point, did you think you were going to be in trouble?
No, not really.
I mean,
like I said, I didn't tell them that I tried to shoot in the back of the head.
No,
but I figured in the case of terrorism, they wouldn't really care, and they didn't.
Sure.
They're very...
And then they came out with a unequivocal, this is what caused that guy was doing or whatever, what terrorist group and all that.
It took a while to sort that out, actually.
Because that was something kind of fuzzy on the...
That was something that didn't come out really until the trial, but what ended up happening was he was part of this ISIS terror cell in Brussels.
So it was.
And so it was only like the second ISIS terrorist attack in Europe. So
yeah, that's why...
they were still kind of on the come up, and they were still pretty like unknown at the time. But then right after us, the same terror cell that did our terrorist attack did the Brussels airport bombing and the Bataclan shooting. And the Bataclan shooting killed like 130 people in Paris. And then after that one, they finally figured it out and killed pretty much anyone else that was in the terror cell.
So just strict jihadish Muslim.
Yep.
Yeah, that's unfortunate, man.
Yeah. But it was just, really unusual. But, everything, I guess, happens for a reason. And, Mark, the guy that got shot in the neck, made a full recovery.
That's amazing.
We got the Legion of Honor, which is like the highest award that they can give people in France.
I was going to say for
the French president.
That's sweet.
Yeah.
That's
a really cool story too is my I think he was my lieutenant colonel at the time, Pendergast. He worked for Nike in his day job because he was National Guard. And so he kind of asked Nike if they could, he called my mom and said, hey, if there's anything I can do for you, let me know. And then my mom calls him back like a couple hours later and says, yeah, we need to get to Paris in time to see them get the Legion of Honor. It's like tomorrow. Is there any way, you can get our passports, because half of Spencer's family didn't have passports and whatnot. So they needed to get like a waiver. And he's like, yeah, sure. And basically he had an idea and he asked Nike if they could use his private jet.
Fucking Phil Knight to the rescue.
Fly.
God damn.
Well, basically they told him no because of a conflict of interest or something. I'm not sure why. Maybe because he was an employee, but he happened to be friends with the private pilots for Columbia Sportswear, and he asked that guy, and that guy asked the Boyle family that owns Columbia, and
another local
at the drop of a hat, we're like, yeah, sure. And so all of our families flew up to Portland, got on the Columbia private jet, flew straight to Paris.
That's
and
amazing,
made it there about
man.
like an hour and a half before we got the Legion of Honor. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, so they got to witness it, and that's amazing.
Yeah, so really cool experience all the way around there, and it was just a really good time. And we came back home, did a bunch of interviews, and got approached about doing a book, and we said sure, why not? So we did the book, and
so the book was first, and then
yeah. And so, I wrote the book. The book was fine. And as it was coming out, I was actually in sniper school when it came out.
So you just continued on with your normal shit.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh, man.
I mean, because the book didn't take a lot of time or effort. And so I was still doing, regular National Guard stuff for the most part. They were pretty cool about everything. If I needed to miss a drill because whatever, they were really laid back about the whole thing. But we got invited to do something called the Guys Choice Awards with Spike TV back when that was a thing, if you remember that channel.
Sure.
And we really didn't want to go because it sounded super corny, to be honest. But the reason we went was because they were like, hey, if you guys go, Clint Eastwood's going to be the one giving you guys the award. So if you guys want to go and meet Clint Eastwood, like, come on down. So we're like, okay, that's good enough for me. So
right.
We flew down there, and we get the award from Clint Eastwood, and after we get the award, we go back down. We're talking to this actress named Olivia Munn, who's pretty attractive. And so we're talking to her, and then an assistant comes up and says, hey, Mr. Eastwood would like to talk to you guys in the green room. And so we had to make a choice between Olivia Munn or Clint Eastwood. And so needless to say, we chose Clint Eastwood, and went back and talked to him.
Any real man would,
we're talking to Clint Eastwood in the green room, just kind of saying, hey, good to meet you. Thanks for giving us the award, whatever. Didn't really know what to talk about. And so I was kind of like awkward. And I was like, we're coming out with a book. You should do the movie on it. And he said, well, send me a copy. You never know. And again, I just thought he was joking and was like, he's
because that's all you were doing.
Right.
Well, yeah. And so, then Spencer,
keeping it light.
Again, Spencer, to his credit, followed up and sent him a book. Didn't hear anything for like 2 weeks. And then so he calls up Clint Eastwood's assistant and said, hey, I sent a book. I don't know if you guys got it or not. And she said, oh, well, send me another one and I'll make sure that he sees it. So Clint Eastwood basically got the second copy, read it in 3 days without us knowing it. He just got the book, and 3 days after he got the book, he called Spencer on the phone and was like, I read the book.
Personally, he called him, huh?
Yeah, just on the phone.
That's
out of the blue. Again,
that's amazing.
Spencer didn't know that he even got the book. He didn't know that he read it.
On your
phone call.
Your book deal, was that a collaborative between the three of you, or just you and Spencer?
Between the three of us, yeah.
Yeah, so...
Did somebody else write it? You guys were just telling
Pretty much, yeah. And so the book is kind of... I don't really like the book because it's told from our three different perspectives as to what we thought happened, and none of which were completely accurate. So it's kind of hard to get. Well, it's kind of hard to piece it together.
Yeah, you have all three.
Whereas the movie was like the first time we were able to really all talk, the three of us, and figure out what really happened. Because I was like, well, I remember this happening. And then Spencer's like, well, yes, that did happen, but that didn't happen till this happened. And
Sure.
then like,
So
because
it's more-
adrenaline does weird things with like your memory.
heck
Like
yeah.
there's the whole middle part of fighting the terrorists. Like I don't even remember hardly. I still don't think any of us know what happened to the box cutter or how we got it away from him. Like it's just parts that you forget for some reason. And so we kind of, all three of us had to like come together and piece together what actually happened as accurately as possible. And so that was kind of the first time we were able to do that was for the movie. And, you know, we did talk to the screenwriter multiple times and the producers and tried to get every little detail correct as to what happened when, what kind of backpacks we were wearing, what kind of clothes we were wearing when it happened, what kind of guns the terrorist had.
Sure.
Trying to make it as accurate.
Every
as possible.
little detail as accurate as possible. And it was really honestly cool because the people that do all that background work were fantastic. I mean, I had I was wearing like basketball shorts that I had from like my high school PE class, and they literally made replicas of them exactly.
Nice.
I was wearing like these soccer jerseys from like this German soccer team that I liked from like 2 years. They were like, the jerseys were 2 years old, so they went back and talked to the soccer team and got like old jerseys that matched it perfectly. It was actually really cool too. I got to meet the soccer player whose jersey I was wearing, Thomas Müller for Bayern Munich.
They pretty much made it as accurate as possible.
They made it extremely accurate. And
that's pretty cool.
And we go back, you know, we kind of talk about, we joke about like who we wanted to play ourselves. Like I wanted Zac Efron to play me. Spencer wanted Denzel Washington to play him, even though Spencer's white and Denzel Washington's not.
That's
and
right.
so we go back again because we had to fly back to Los Angeles probably like 2 times at least a month to, you know, meet with them and go over all these details, you know. And we finally, it's about 10 days away from the filming to start, and they want us to come down again. And so we're like, okay, maybe we'll get to meet the actors that are going to play us in the movie. Because, you know, why else would they want us down there this late in the game? And so we fly down there. We start talking to Clint Eastwood in his office, and he's just kind of talking about, I got this really cool little Sony camera that I want to use on the train scene because we're going to film it on an actual moving train that's going to go the exact route that you guys went in between Amsterdam and Paris. And, you know, it's going to be really cool. And I want to get you guys on film and see how you guys look on camera. And we're like, oh, cool. Yeah, no problem. And he's like, yeah, because would you guys be interested in doing it again?
Yeah, because by the way.
And we're like, what do you mean?
10 days before.
Well, he's like, he was like, do you guys want to do it again? Like, yeah, we'll show the actors what happened.
Yeah, you're all starstruck.
We'll recreate it.
Clint.
Yeah, we'll recreate it and show the actors like what happened and where we all were.
Mr. Eastwood, yes.
And he's like, no, how would you like to do it yourselves? And we're like, what do you mean? He's like, do you want to play yourselves in the movie? And we're like, oh.
Are you kidding me?
Sure. We didn't think about it at all. But
why would you? I mean,
yeah.
I mean, we just kind of agreed to it initially, and then
these eye contact. Okay, we're doing this.
We did a screen test, which is just kind of where they film you and make sure you look like normal when you're on camera, because I guess some people look weird or better or worse on camera than they do in real life. So they did a screen test with us on camera.
Yeah. I would fail that.
After we had kind of agreed to it, the reality of it set in. We're like, oh shit, we're gonna actually have to like act and do all this stuff again. And a lot of the producers didn't actually want us to play ourselves in the movie, which was frankly understandable. But Clint Eastwood's Clint Eastwood, so he gets what he wants.
This is what we're doing.
Yeah, and so we had already agreed to it.
Oh man!
And then 10 days later, we were shooting the first couple scenes in Los Angeles. Like the Afghanistan scene was the first scene that I was in when Spencer and I are like talking about planning the trip and stuff like that. And then after that, we went to Atlanta for 3 weeks and did 3 weeks of filming in Atlanta, which was kind of most of like our childhood scenes, a lot of stuff that we weren't really in. And they mocked up a couple of like the interior Europe scenes. And then after that, we did about 3 weeks on location in Europe, filming in like Venice, Rome.
That seems like pretty fast filming.
Yeah, that's what I
it was.
thought.
It was only about 6 weeks start to finish.
Holy shit.
I told you at lunch, I thought I had seen that movie,
Mm-hmm.
and then I was rewatching it before having you on the show, and realized that I'd never seen the movie, or at least I don't remember it.
Yeah.
So, but I thought it was really good,
No.
and I thought, and like I told you at lunch, it was really interesting waiting to watch it, knowing that you guys were playing yourselves, which
because a lot of people didn't realize that until they rolled the credits.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of fun because we were filming in Paris on the 2-year anniversary of the terrorist attack. So this was all a very quick turnaround. And it was all very fresh in our minds. And
yeah, my wife walked in when I was watching it,
mm-hmm.
and she must have met you somewhere before, or because she knew who you were. And she's like, "Oh shit, he's actually playing himself." And I was like, "Yeah, they all are." I was like, and she's like, "Oh, that's cool."
Well, the crazy thing about it was like we did the whole train scene. We called it Train Week. It was going to be 1 week of just the train scene. And Clint Eastwood was right. He had us filming like on a moving train from Amsterdam to Paris. The exact same train company had loaned them a car to use.
Was that weird with the? I mean,
it was super
as
weird.
Far as the employees of the train set, were they acting weird to you guys, or
no? They were fine. I mean, the whole thing was cool because we had like they'd let us use this train, and again, it was the identical train company. They had like 6 or 7 train cars.
Sure.
That were stacked together because one train car was where we were filming in, the first train car. Then they had, like one train car for like the camera crew and everybody else because it's pretty complicated to film on a train that small. And then another train car was like the food, and then another train car was like wardrobe and where the extras were and stuff like that. And so they had it all laid out. And the craziest thing about it was, this was in basically the exact same train car where it happened that day. I'm with Spencer and Anthony.
Were you guys having some PTSD over it?
I wouldn't call it PTSD, but it was really easy to put yourself back in like the same headspace where you were when it happened. Because the other
not.
Well, yeah, and the other crazy thing was that not only did the 3 of us play ourselves in the movie, but the guy that got shot in the neck, Mark, played himself in the movie. His wife played herself in the movie. All the train employees played themselves in the movie.
That's crazy.
Even the EMTs that came on the train afterwards were the actual EMTs that Spencer actually did the changeover. That had to be like
one of the first times that's ever happened in the movie.
No, it was, I mean, there's been movies where they've used the actual actors before, like Audie Murphy into Hell and Back. He actually played himself in his own movie.
But he was probably the only one.
Yeah, that's not very common. And then on top of that,
majority of the cast.
To use that many people that were actually there that day was crazy. I mean, there was like the terrorist was an actor, but
people actually filming.
Yeah, they wouldn't let him out.
They wouldn't let the terrorist out to reenact it.
But that was all Clint Eastwood's call, or what?
Yeah, and again, it made it super authentic because we didn't have to fake. We didn't have to act with actors for that part, which made it more authentic because
did it create some aha moments where you're like, wait, I just remembered that didn't happen like that.
Not really. I would just say that it just made it more, it just made it a lot more authentic just because, it was Spencer and Mark, the guy he actually saved. And they were doing the scene all over again where basically we think Mark's going to die and his wife is there, and Spencer's trying to get them to like say goodbye to each other because Spencer also thinks Mark's going to die. And obviously that was a pretty emotional scene for them. For us, it was really easy to get like the adrenaline going during the fight scene because it felt really real. And, it's again, the exact same situation.
Yeah.
And so it just made for a very authentic train scene in particular. Like everything that happened in the movie pretty much happened.
You guys didn't get to beat the shit out of the same terrorist again, though.
No, but the actor that played the terrorist was a really cool guy, and he pretty much let us beat the hell out of him too. Spencer actually came to an agreement with him where he was actually going to choke him unconscious. He was totally down for it.
He's like, I deserve it.
And and they were going to do it and not tell anyone. And basically, before he went unconscious, they just said cut. And so it was fine. But he was actually going to do it for real. And
let's make this look real good.
Just a lot of little.
Spencer seemed like a pretty cool guy on the movie. Anyway,
No, he is a cool guy. Very cool.
All of you guys.
Yeah. But yeah, just a lot of weird things like, like just describing when we were doing the movie, like how when I was hitting the terrorist in the head with the AK-47, he was like looking directly at me, like eye to eye contact.
Mm-hmm.
And when I would hit him in the head, he wouldn't even blink. And again, I'm like hitting him with the muzzle of an AK-47. He'd like stare at me and not even blink when I hit him.
Most people would use the butt stock.
Well, it was a side folder. So I honestly thought the terrorist was on drugs.
Use it as a hammer.
He wasn't on drugs either. So just a lot of weird little things that when we did the movie and even when we went to trial, like the next year or two after that, we found out a lot of things that we didn't realize at the time, like about him being part of the ISIS terror cell in Brussels. In addition to trying to shoot us with the AK-47, he had actually tried to shoot, I think, Mark or Damien when he first came out of the bathroom with the AK-47 as well, because when they...
That's why I asked right off the bat, did you get to keep that bullet?
No, but...
Because that, to me, you say it, everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
That would be a...
I would like to have it. I could probably get it now that the appeals trial is over.
That would be one hell of a keepsake, man.
Well, the interesting thing is that when we did the court case, we found out that there was actually 2 bullets with a dented primer. So he'd actually tried to shoot Mark or Damien.
And then
and then cycled it. And then probably tried to shoot Spencer again when he came at him or somebody else along the way. And it just 2 bad primers back to back. And even when I looked at his magazines, they were all terrible. I mean,
that's typical AK with surplus ammo right there, man.
Well, the one that he had in his gun was the worst ammo. Like it was all mismatched in steel. And the other magazines were actually like pretty normal looking ammo. Some of them were even brass. And so it just for whatever reason, the worst magazine was the one that he had in the gun. So thank goodness for that too. There's a lot of weird coincidences that came into play where literally no one died, not even the terrorist.
It worked out the way it
well,
did.
hell yeah.
Me too.
That's it's just, you can't even find words for it, in the big picture.
Yeah.
So going back, you're meeting up with them for this European vacation. You're obviously getting close to getting out of the guard or whatever, or getting...
I wasn't close to getting out yet. I was just coming off from that Afghanistan deployment. Yeah, it was just...
So what were your plans at the time? I mean, because you must... The whole reason you joined was because you didn't know what you were going to do with your life.
Well, my plan was just to... I was actually working at Costco before Afghanistan. And so my plan was just to go back to Costco, go back to UCC, get a degree in criminal justice, and try to get on with Douglas County or Roseburg Police Department.
So you're going to be a cop.
Definitely early 20s.
Yeah, I was 22, I think, at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then all this crazy terrorist stuff happens.
Yep.
And it obviously sent your life in a whole different direction.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, I had, planned on becoming a cop, and then instead we're writing a book and doing a movie. And then after the movie came out, we did a lot of other stuff and public speaking engagements. And
yeah, I did. I always do a little bit of digging, so I know some stuff to talk about. And I mean, you've gotten to do some pretty cool stuff, which I find it's kind of ironic because I've known you for a little while now. You've been one of my customers for a while, and you seem to me like a super quiet,
a little bit kind of introvert,
introverted, private person. But I mean, you got sent into this whole fame thing, and I mean, you did Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, and
that was a fun one too.
Yeah, and you did, I mean, Dancing with the Stars, which I think Dancing with the Stars probably got you known more than anything.
Honestly, that's honestly very true. There's a lot of people that recognize me from that show more than anything else.
Well, I mean, they started digging into your private life, and he's in love with this girl, and he's in love with this girl, and all this stuff.
With the whole private, what Carlos was talking about, is there downsides that
not really. I mean, it was back when, right after the terrorist attack. I think this was like the first time I was back in Roseburg after the terrorist attack. And, cause I think we came back to the United States into New York. I did like a couple interviews, and then while I was in New York, I actually got the offer to do Dancing with the Stars. And at first I was going to just kind of blow it off. I was like, yeah, whatever. That's kind of corny.
Exactly.
And
whatever.
they told me how much they were going to pay. And I was like, okay, let me
Goddamn.
rethink this. And so,
Could you dance before that? Because
absolutely
you did a damn good job on the show.
Well, they do teach
I watched
you a lot.
of clips, dude.
They teach you a lot.
You became a hell of a dancer.
But so I flew back to Roseburg for like 24 hours, then flew back to New York to do the announcement for Dancing with the Stars, then flew like to LA. Or I think that was actually back to Roseburg for like a week to start training for the show. And we actually trained at that little dance studio. I don't know if it still is or not, but it's kind of by Fitness First across from the Jersey Lily.
Oh, I know.
Sure.
Yeah. So we trained there actually for like a week. And I went to, this was like the only downside, I guess, but I went to Costco one day to get like an electric toothbrush. And that's all I wanted from Costco was an electric toothbrush. And I went there and it took me like an hour and a half to get
everybody knew.
Because everyone knew who I was and everyone wanted to talk to me. And aside from like just a couple times that were just like that ridiculous, it's honestly been nothing but good things.
You're like, whoa. Yeah.
But, yeah, like I said, then I decided too many people liked me, so I decided to get involved in politics. And I met my state senator, Dallas Hurd, actually on a plane just by chance. And
I like Dallas. He's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think actually his wife recognized me from Dancing with the Stars.
No shit.
And said, do you know who that is?
Yeah.
And then so Dallas started talking to me. And so, you know, we started talking about politics. And he's like, oh, you should think about getting involved in politics. And I'm like, yeah, right, whatever. Like, that's not me. And then honestly, the more I learned about our political situation in Oregon and Douglas County, the anger I got until I wanted to do something about it. And
Well, that's cool.
that's kind of been my journey ever since like 2018 has been politics. Ran for Congress twice. Now I'm running to be a state rep. So I haven't had a lot of success, unfortunately, but I think I'll win this race.
It's looking good for this race.
Yeah, hopefully. By the time this episode comes out, hopefully I will have won. Hopefully Trump's our president, and hopefully we have the House and the Senate as well. That'd be a really good experience.
We definitely need some changes here.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, somewhere along the line, you got to know the Black Rifle Coffee guys.
Oh, yeah. They're good dudes.
You've done a couple of their podcasts.
Yeah.
And you even got to be in that Range 15 movie,
Yeah.
which I love that movie, by the way.
Oh, it's so
It's so
freaking-
cheesy.
It's the funniest thing is I have the opening line in the movie.
It's the
And
best, dude.
That's like my only contribution to the movie is like I have the opening line and I'm in like it for like 10 seconds and then that's it.
So
It's ridiculous.
yes, that's the good word for it right there. Ridiculous.
But
Yeah.
it's awesome. It's cool. How'd you get to know those guys? Were you?
So that's another weird one. I was actually in the Salt Lake City airport flying somewhere, probably for Dancing with the Stars. And Logan Stark, who's one of their guys, recognized me and was like, hey, like I'm with Black Rifle Coffee. You should like hit me up. We're going to be in Los Angeles in a couple weeks or something like that, filming Range 15. And so I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. Cause before going to Afghanistan, you know, we used to watch like their YouTube videos back when they were, before Black Rifle Coffee Company was even a thing, back when they were just Article 15 clothing.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
They're making all those funny YouTube videos. I used to watch a ton of them. And so I was like, oh, that's cool. I like those dudes. And so I started talking to JT, actually. He's one of the friendliest ones of the bunch. And, you know, he was like, oh, yeah, you should come down. We're filming Range 15 on this date, this place. And so I did and shot that one scene that I was in. And that was about it. And after that, I did their podcast a couple times. And it was just, you know, really fun time. And they're just really cool dudes.
Nice. Right on. Yeah. So have you enjoyed the fame part of it? I mean,
yeah, no, we've had a ton of cool experiences. I mean, and I'm not like so famous that it's annoying. You know what I mean? Like, and most people around Roseburg have already met me at least once, so it's not a big deal anymore. And shoot, it's coming up on like 10 years after the terrorist attack this next summer. So, It's pretty mellow now, but like right afterwards, I mean, we had a ton of cool experiences. We got to meet Kobe Bryant like 18 months before he died.
Yeah. I'd
we got
imagine
to have,
quite a few famous people.
Yeah, we got to have dinner with Arnold Schwarzenegger at his house, which, you know, we literally grew up on Arnold Schwarzenegger movies and Clint Eastwood movies.
Yeah.
And so
There you go.
Both of them was super cool. And I was really into working out, and, you know, we watched like Pumping Iron on the deployment, and, you know, then to meet Arnold Schwarzenegger, like not even like 6 months later was super cool. I got to work out in his private gym at his house with him, counting my reps, just basically to say I did. I was like, hey, he was giving us a tour of his house, and he was like, oh yeah, this is my personal gym. And I'm like, hey, can I like hop on those like lat pull down bars?
Did you get him to say, get in the chopper?
No, it's super funny. I have it on video. I'm like doing lat pull downs, and he's like, he just starts at like 15. He's like, 15, 16, 17. Come on. It's hilarious. It is so funny.
That's badass.
And I just had to
One of your best memories?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, I've got another cool workout memory. Is so for the movie, we were getting in really good shape because, you know, we kind of knew that like posterity, like this is our grandkids are probably going to watch this movie.
Like, I don't want to look like shit.
Yeah. And we were both, Spencer and I anyway, we're both pretty chubby.
Oh,
and so we wanted to like get in really good shape. So we started working out like maniacs. They actually hired a personal trainer, a really good like Hollywood personal trainer to get us in shape. And so we're doing all that.
So what you're saying, it's as accurate as possible, except for you guys might be in better shape than you were now.
Well, no, I would say it was accurate to how good of shape we were in at the time. But then in the 2 years after, we got kind of lazy.
You kind of let it go.
And so we had to get back in really good shape. I was super strong when I got back from Afghanistan, because all we did was work out.
We got to reel this back in.
And then we had to reel it back in. So we went to the gym like a maniac, and I got in really good shape doing that too. Lost a ton of weight, and so did Spencer. And we were working out before the movie and even while we were filming. And so this trainer, Grant, really cool guy, he would get us gyms everywhere we were. And we were in Venice. And he found a gym in Venice, like proper, where we literally had to take a boat to go to the gym. And we get there, it was kind of in the off season anyway, but they had closed the gym for just us to work out in. And it was literally the three of us, Clint Eastwood, the executive producer, Tim Moore, and Clint Eastwood's bodyguard. And so the six of us are all working out, and Spencer and I are kind of talking shit about like how many dips we could do, you know, like parallel bar dips. And Spencer's like, oh, I can do 10 dips. And I'm like, oh, that's nothing. I can do 25. And then Clint Eastwood overhears us, and he's like, 25. When I was 75, I could do 25. And I'm like, all right, well, get up there. Let's see how many you can do now. And he was 88 years old at the time.
Holy
and gets
shit.
up there and does 10 body weight dips at 88 years old.
Jesus.
Freaking nuts. The dude's in incredible shape.
Yeah.
Yeah. Really cool guy, though.
Amazing.
That is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So he is pretty cool.
Super cool. Really laid back.
All your celebrities that you've gotten to meet that have been pretty cool, or
Everybody except Robert De Niro. He was the only one that wasn't cool.
He's kind of a douchebag anyway.
Yeah, he kind of was. But everyone else was really nice and friendly. I think most of them realize how lucky they are for the most part. But yeah, a lot of cool experiences. Got to meet a lot of cool. Honestly, when you mentioned Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, that was one of the that was probably the most fun we've ever had doing anything public. Because
how'd you do on I could not find videos of that actual episode.
Yeah, I would like to see it. It's been a while. I think we did like 250,000.
I saw that. I saw that you guys did raise 250.
We did it, the three of us combined. And so it was kind of cheating because like we all kind of came in clutch on like one question because by our power combined, we had enough brain power to get like about as deep as a normal smart person would on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. But the reason it was so fun was because the host at the time was what's his name? Harrison, from the guy that hosts Chris Harrison, the guy who used to host The Bachelor.
Yeah.
And that dude is hilarious. And not only
straight up comedian, huh?
Dude, like he's a television host. Like he's not even really like that funny, but the dude was hilarious, and even better was like the stuff he would say off camera when like they were on commercial break or something. He'd come up to us and we'd be talking, and dude, like some dirty stuff that like he couldn't say on camera, but the guy was like just the funniest person probably I've ever met in my life. Nice. And just a really nice guy. And, you know, we did pretty well on the show. It was all three of us.
That's pretty cool.
Chris Harrison, you know, my older brother was our lifeline. And it was just a really good experience all the way around.
Yeah. I like that show anyways.
No, it was super fun.
I'm going to pause it for 1 second.
All right.
What sets Umpqua Survival apart? For starters, their cutting-edge classes, their huge selection of guns and ammo, their expansive offering of quality outdoor gear, and their unwavering community support and outstanding customer service. Vote Umpqua Survival as your favorite outdoor and hobby store at nrtoday.com.
All right, we're back. Oh, I told you we always have to take a little break. So
I appreciate it.
I'm an old man. I can't help it. So I was saying, dude, you've gotten to experience some pretty cool stuff.
Yeah.
You got any other cool stories for during that time?
Shoot, I've got a bunch probably, but I mean, we did a lot of like regular TV shows. One of the things that happened right after the terrorist attack was, Jimmy Kimmel wanted to have all three of us on, and I had done an interview. Anthony had done an interview, like a big interview, and Spencer was just getting back from Europe because he came back a couple days after us because of his medical care at the Air Force Launch Stool Base. And so he was like, hey guys, like I just want to do Jimmy Kimmel on my own. And we're like, all right, cool, that's fine. And then the Jimmy Kimmel people reached out to us again. We're like, hey, we'd really like to have all three of you guys on there. And I'm like, hey, man, they really want to have all three of us on there at the same time. Like, are you sure you want to do it on your own? He's like, yeah, I just want to do this one on my own. We're like, all right, cool. You know, we each did our own interviews. Like, you can have your own interview. And then he goes and does Jimmy Kimmel and gets a free Camaro. I'm like, damn it. Like, I know they would have given all three of us Camaros.
Something, yeah.
Super, super bummer.
So you're telling me he owes you guys Camaros?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We're not getting that Camaro.
That's sweet.
That's funny. So you're still good buddies with all them?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Probably. Well, your one friend, you said you hadn't even talked to since junior high. So
yeah. Well, it was kind of weird because, you know, we were all friends, and Spencer and I especially were really good friends and go way back. But it's one thing to be friends, even childhood friends, but it's another thing to be business partners.
Yeah.
Because that's really what we ended up becoming, because, you know, we had to do the book together. We had to do sign all these, you know, agreements, you know, with producers and, you know, agencies. And
so that brought you guys all a little bit closer? Or?
I wouldn't necessarily say that. I would just say that it's rare that you're friends with someone and then you end up becoming business partners and the relationship stays the same.
Gotcha.
Like, we obviously had arguments about certain things on the business side, but nothing was ever terrible and we all stayed friends. So it wasn't like, you know, we all got...
It's nothing you can work through.
Yeah, it's not like we all got famous and fought with each other and then now we don't talk anymore like a famous band or something like that. We're just...
No, that's cool.
Everything worked out and, you know, we're all better off for it.
It seemed like you embraced more of it than they did, though. Because, I mean, I saw a lot more...
I wouldn't say that. I think it was just... I did Dancing with the Stars, which was a different experience and went a little bit longer. But they all... I mean, we did everything else pretty much together as a trio.
Yeah.
The only thing I did that they didn't do was Dancing with the Stars, and I don't know why I got chosen and they didn't, but whatever. But yeah, no, and then
was that a fun experience?
That was super fun. They do a really good job and they're all really nice people. But I also decided to go into politics, of course, which means I'm...
So when did that transition take place?
About 2018.
Yeah.
I actually ran for kind of my warm-up was I ran for county commissioner against Tom Kress.
Right.
And that was actually a really close race. He raised about twice as much money as us, and think he won by 1,800 votes, which is 2.5%. So considering I had no idea what I was doing.
Sure.
It looks like almost all of your races have been very close.
Is that
Yeah. Well, then we started running against Democrats for Congress, and that was really tough
right,
because
totally different?
way more expensive, way more professional.
Yeah.
We still have the record for the most expensive congressional race in Oregon's history, which was myself.
I saw that, yeah.
Myself versus Peter DeFazio in 2020.
They had to.
Yeah, I mean, we raised like 5 million. I think they raised like 7 million,
Yeah.
and so I think that record's going to get broken this year in the 5th congressional
They
district.
were
but
afraid.
yeah, it was. I mean, I wouldn't call that super close, but it was the first time he'd ever have to
A challenger,
run for serious re-election. Yeah, so and again, unfortunately, it was just too Democrat of an area.
And then he just turns around and says,
And then he turns around and retires, and
Fucker.
then they redistricted and made the district more Democrat, and so
All by
we
plan.
decided to do it again just because he wasn't there anymore, and we thought we might have a better chance, even though it's more Democrat. The 36-year incumbent isn't there anymore, and so we ran again and still lost because they just added Lincoln County and took away Lynn County, and that made the district just way too Democrat,
gotcha.
sadly. But now I live south of Roseburg instead, so I'm technically in a different congressional district now and in a different state rep district, which is what I'm running for now.
Yeah, it looks like you
So
have a really
that's,
good chance this time.
On the,
I hope so.
That's above the county, right?
What's
That's above the county seat. You're actually state representative or for Douglas County.
No, it's district, so it's kind of broken up. So I represent Southern Douglas County,
Josephine.
Northeast Josephine, and
Yeah.
Northwest Jackson.
Sure.
So like from Winston to Central Point, kind of on I-5. Most of the rural towns like Canyonville, Rogue River, Gold Hill.
It's weird
Central Point.
how they break that up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is really weird.
It doesn't make a lot of sense, but
Yeah, obviously Virgil represents kind of the eastern and northern half of Douglas County, and so and I think Roseburg proper. So it's just kind of strange how they break everything up.
definitely.
Yeah.
Well, it's cool. And
Well,
like
you
I
got
said,
my
it looks
vote.
like you probably got it this time.
I hope so.
You represent Mike.
It's a safe.
Yeah,
oh,
that's
good.
my house is right in there.
It's a safe
so.
Republican seat, and so hopefully I don't jinx it. But hopefully by the time this podcast comes out, I will have won, and Trump will have won, and it'll be a great year for Republicans. But
Well, by the time this comes out, we'll know for sure.
yeah, I hope so. Yeah, Trump's election might still be getting counted.
Yeah, that one might take a couple months.
I think if he wins Pennsylvania, it should be almost a blowout.
Yeah, it's kind of looking like it. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, but we've thought that before, so I don't want.
I know. I thought for sure he had it last time.
They got all kinds of sneaky little tricks in their bag, you know.
I was talking with a buddy of mine, and
Fuckers.
as far as my business goes, I think it'll be good either way for my business. But
Yeah. Oh, when Trump's president,
I don't know that
ammo and guns are super cheap.
Yeah.
But
well, more than that, he'll fix the economy, which is what
That so
Exactly.
other people,
Right now.
so people have money to spend. Yeah.
And if Kamala wins, I'll just have crazy panic buying for like 4 months.
If Kamala wins, you better stock up on
Yeah.
No shit.
lowers and everything else.
Yeah, I'll have to take out a loan so that I can buy enough merchandise if she wins. So, but yeah, hopefully everything works out good, and hopefully you win. I think you've got it, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I hope so.
But you've got other interests too. I mean, you're a gun guy.
Really big gun guy.
Yeah, you've been
The biggest gun guy.
You've been one of my customers for a while, and
love it.
now you're branching into doing your own Cerakote, which
Yeah.
technically makes you a gunsmith.
Yeah, no, I had to get an FFL and everything.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
I am technically I think I'm actually a class 7, not
you're
SOT, but I am a class 7.
Yeah,
so
you're technically a gunsmith now.
yeah.
And so that you can keep those guns overnight to Cerakote them.
Yeah, it's super fun. I love it. I've already done a couple guns for some guys and done a lot of my own guns. And so it's a ton of fun.
And we're planning on partnering up with you to do some projects.
Absolutely.
And I think it'll be fun.
Yeah, it'll be a lot of fun. I love it because it kind of, obviously I love guns and I'm a little bit artistic and creative. So it kind of marries those two up. And so it's,
were you that before all this stuff came about? Have you always been into that kind of thing?
yeah, I mean, I was always into guns, and my dad's actually not a professional, but my dad's actually a pretty well-known oil painter, actually.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. And so
the artistic side.
Yeah,
was
so we
there.
kind of grew up around art when I was younger, and then obviously I got really into guns, and so Cerakote in a way is kind of like two of my favorite hobbies kind of merged together. So
Nice.
it's a ton of fun. I love it, and I just love the customization of it and build. I mean, we talked about building guns at lunch and all the different things you can do with them. It's just too much fun.
I know exactly what you mean, because I'll get an idea in my head,
Mm-hmm.
and like I can picture this freaking awesome firearm in my head. I'm a little bit of an artist, but I'm more of a visionary than I am actually doing the work. So it'll be awesome to partner up with you and be able to make some of those visions come true.
Yeah, I can't wait.
And
I'm excited.
see what we can do with it. It'll be
Look
fun.
for them at Umpqua Survival coming soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And we need to come try out shooting on your little range that you're building. And
Yeah. I've got 250 acres out in Olalla, and it's a blast. I love it. Little shooting range in the back, cows,
you don't want these
horses.
crazy fanatic customers trying to show up at your place. So
Yeah.
don't get too specific.
Yeah, never mind.
It's out there.
Somewhere. That was a lie. That was
Yeah.
misdirection.
10 Mile Valley Road.
I don't
that
even
was.
live in Douglas County anymore.
Yeah. You tell them you live in Tiller. Nobody can find it.
Yeah. You're lost.
Oh, but no, that's freaking cool. And then, so you got into politics. Sounds like kind of just by chance.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, like I said, I just got angry enough to want to do something about it. I think a lot of people.
Do you still have that positive outlook?
Yeah.
That there is a light that can be changed?
I don't know, to be honest.
It's frustrating as hell.
I think, honestly, we're probably screwed in a lot of ways. But if we're not screwed, I want to at least try my best to
go down
do what I
swinging,
can.
whatever,
Yeah,
however you want
basically.
to term it.
Yeah, even if it's too late, even if the country or the state's too far gone, like I still need to at least give it a shot, because there's a lot of people that are well-meaning in politics, but
definitely
either don't have the intelligence or they're easily co-opted by the powers that be, so to speak. And they just kind of go along with stuff that isn't always best for the country or state just because they don't understand the depth of the issue that they're dealing with. And, there's a lot of like regulatory capture in particular where, people come up with some idea that sounds good on its face, but it's really only good for their industry or, their business.
Special interest type.
Well, the best example is, I think back, this was probably like 5 or 6 years ago, they tried to pass, I think it was HB 2007, which was where they wanted to ban diesel trucks older than 2008 or 9 or something like that. You remember that? Well, the interesting thing about it was most of the trucking companies were in favor of it.
Yeah.
And you ask yourself, why would a trucking company be in favor of a bill that would ban older diesel trucks? The answer is because smaller businesses
it puts all the small businesses
have older diesel trucks,
Yeah.
so it puts all of their smaller competitors out of business
Exactly.
and gives them more market share because they can get a loan
only the big
and
boys
buy
can
more
play.
trucks,
Yeah.
whereas the little guy can't. And that's, again, you ask yourself, why would a company like that be in favor of it? And it's because regulatory capture. If they can use the government to force their competitors out of business, every business will. And even though I'm a pro-business Republican, you have to watch out for that because and there's a lot of people that just don't think that far ahead, I think. And
or they're selfish enough that they go along with it.
Yeah, and that's, Democrat and Republican. I think Democrats do it because maybe they actually hate diesel trucks and they think it's, a good thing. But, Republicans will be like, well, all my friends who own trucking companies say it's a good thing, so I'm going to do it. And they don't think deep enough to realize what it's actually doing to the average person. And that's just, again, an example, but there's countless examples of things like that happening where even Republicans will go along with something like that because they're just confused or misguided, and it's unfortunate.
Well, I told you earlier that I had Virgil on recently, and I'm not a politics guy.
He's a good dude, though, yeah.
I don't know a lot about politics, and he's probably the first political person that I've followed.
Yeah.
I've been following you now too for a little while. But he's probably the first one that I actually started keeping an eye on what was going on. And it really is eye-opening to me because I never realized how much was involved in it. And
the average public doesn't.
Yeah, and how little knowledge people actually have when they're making their decisions.
Oh, yeah.
And it's crazy.
Well, and you also have to be, most politicians, myself included, we're not like geniuses. Like we can't know everything about every little subject.
Not at all.
Trying to get a law passed about it. So we have to.
It just seems one-sided lately.
Are you pretty good about doing your due diligence to try and learn about everything and whatnot?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, the timber industry was kind
Obviously.
of my baby. That's kind of what I know the most about. So I'd like to get on those committees. But I just mean, you kind of have to. The specifics of a bill sometimes aren't the most important thing. The important thing is the principles that the bill is based on. Whereas, like 2007, trying to ban diesel trucks, you could argue, okay, what diesel trucks should we ban? Should we be banning diesel trucks? Whereas I would come at it from the perspective of why is the government saying that we can ban or not ban anything? Like we just shouldn't ban anything. Why would we have?
What's the reasoning behind it?
Well, I don't care if there is a good reason.
Just
it's not the
right
government's job to ban diesel trucks. You might have an excellent reason. I mean, like diesel trucks that are that old might just decide to blow up and kill a bunch of people. Like, you don't know. But at the end of the day, it's just not my job to be banning things. I would never want to ban anything, no matter what the reason is. I mean, even, with like things like drug use, it's like Oregon made a terrible decision and passed Measure 110, which made drugs basically illegal.
Now they're trying to fix that.
And in principle, I think, yeah, sure, if you're a consenting adult, you should be able to do that. Unfortunately, our system is not an ideal libertarian system. If someone uses drugs and overdoses, it's like, we have to take care of them. If they die, their kids go to foster care. I mean, it's not, we're all tied together. We don't live in a pure anarchist or libertarian paradise. And since we don't, we have to make decisions. And especially when we legalize all drugs, we're also inviting a lot of other problems that come along with that, like homelessness and people moving to the state of Oregon
100%.
with the express purpose of being homeless and doing drugs. And then we're increasing the amount of problems we have. So again, on the pure principles, I might not agree, but when in practicality, you kind of have to.
Well, it's like anything. I mean, you make one decision and it starts a snowball effect
on something else.
Things.
Well, exactly. And that's another thing I think a lot of people don't think about when they take some of these votes. They don't think about all of the ripple effects,
ramifications, and what comes with it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how our state ended up in the situation it's in right
now.
And that's
exactly.
We've got homeless people everywhere and freaking people just vandalizing
a revolving door on the.
Oh yeah, it's just exactly. Jail. Think of one thing, like legalizing drugs and all the other ambient tertiary problems that come out of it. Mm-hmm. It's you just really have to be careful when you're voting for something, even like all these ballot measures that are on right now about ranked choice voting. A lot of people don't realize how terrible of a system that would be for the state of Oregon. Yeah. Even there's one, I can't remember which one it is. Hopefully it doesn't pass by the time people listen to this, but it's a bill that says that legislatures should not be able to vote themselves a pay increase, and that pay increase should be voted on by a third committee that decides those things, so that basically politicians can't vote themselves more money. At face value, sounds like a good thing, right? Yeah. But when you actually think about it, what it's doing is the Democrats don't want to vote themselves more money because they know that they'll get in trouble from the voters by voting themselves more money. So instead, they're going to appoint a commission of their friends to vote themselves more money. Yeah. And so then when everyone gets mad that the legislature gets a massive raise, they're going to be like, well,
the law.
Yeah, we didn't do it.
We followed the law.
You guys passed this ballot measure that says this independent commission decides our pay. And this independent commission realized that we make $30,000 less than the average income in the state of Oregon. So we all get a pay raise. You just kind of have to think about these things.
But there's very few people that are in those positions that's their only job, right?
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, most of the people that are like state representatives and whatnot,
They have
regular jobs. I mean, they have their own business.
Well, there's that too. But even if you wanted to take the other approach, I mean, if the state legislature wants more money,
they should ask the public.
They should either vote for it themselves, so they're telling their constituents, hey, I think I deserve more money. And if their constituents disagree, they can vote them out of office, or they should put the actual amount on a ballot measure and says, we think we should raise the pay from 40 grand a year to 60 grand a year. Vote yes or no. But they know that would go down. And so this is their way around it, of voting themselves a pay raise without actually having to put their name on it.
Sure.
Again, you just have to be very cynical when you think of all these things like ranked choice voting and a lot of the other ballot measures that they're always trying to pass. Like 110 passed on a ballot measure, and it said nothing really about legalizing drugs. It was about drug rehabilitation.
Yeah.
And that's how it was worded.
Yeah.
And people are like, yeah, drug rehabilitation, that's a good thing. Let's vote for it. And then
that's what I told Virgil when I had him on, was most people make their decisions on voting based off of that one or two paragraphs in the voters pamphlet that's written by whoever contributes it.
Well, basically whoever wants the bill to pass.
Yeah.
and
it's a horrible way to make your decisions.
Not straight lying, but not straight truthful.
Yeah.
You know,
it's really cool to get actual political candidates and political figures to talk to, like yourself and Virgil and other folks that I've talked to. Because I get it. You guys have a unique insight into the things because you actually research them and can speak intelligently about them.
That's a stretch, but thank you.
Well, rather than these folks that just,
you get to see it firsthand.
You know, they read a blurb in a pamphlet or they're just going off of what people's opinions on Facebook is.
Yep.
And,
news review article or something.
It's an interesting thing, especially for someone like myself who's never been interested in politics at all.
Well, yeah, and there's always people that you want to listen to. If you don't know how to vote on a ballot measure, refer to your local Republican Party. Ask them, ask someone for a test ballot, ask your local state rep or someone like that you know. I mean, there's still a lot of good people in politics. We're just unfortunately the minority. I mean, you think about, federally, Congress is pretty terrible.
Yes,
you've got a lot of Republicans that have terrible voting records, but then you've got people like Thomas Massey or Ron or Rand Paul, Jim Jordan. There's still a handful of really solid people. There's just, 10 or 15 of them in a chamber that's like 435 people, and kind of probably the same thing on the state level too. No, I mean, it's just hard to figure out who really knows what they're talking about and who's just going along to get along, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. It's funny because when I took over the store here, I had people calling. I thought it was the craziest thing ever. And mind you, when I started at the store, when I took the store over, I had literally voted one time. And I took the store over, and I had people calling the store asking me how they're supposed to vote.
Good.
and I'm like the worst person ever to ask. I mean, especially at that time, because I really had never even looked into anything. But then I realized with this business, especially, a lot of things in politics directly impact my business.
Oh, for sure.
And so then I started thinking I need to be able to at least intelligently speak to these people. I need to have some knowledge. So then I started following at least the things that affect my business. And it's evolved into me following more than that. And which I still hate politics. I don't know how you do it, man.
I hate politics too, but at the same time, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I don't look forward to it at all. Anytime I have to listen to it or look into it, but I do try and at least make it so that I have a little bit of knowledge on the stuff. And I admire folks like yourself that want to devote their life to it.
Yeah, to help other people.
Or not. So I think that's cool.
Well, like I said, I just got angry enough to want to do something about it. There I was kind of put in a position to where a lot of people knew who I was, so I knew I could probably get elected to something. Turns out I was wrong. But,
No.
now at least I'll, be a state rep. And
I don't think you're wrong.
I think, I think just kind of like with the terrorist attack, I think I was put in this position for some reason. And I think our country is definitely at a really unusual turning point. And so I'm just going to do what I can to help our country and our state get on the right path and make some correct decisions, or at least try to stop the Democrats from screwing our state up more than it already is. So fingers crossed.
What are some of the things that you'd like to see changed or like to work on?
Forest policy. Unfortunately, most of that's federal. That's why I was running for Congress. But on the state level, mostly just regulation and taxes. I mean, they're forcing a lot of businesses to leave this state, and even natural resources as well. Oregon should be one of the most competitive business climates in the country, and we're not, unfortunately. So just any place where I could stop taxes and regulation.
It goes like the conversation we have every year about forest fires and shit.
Well, yeah, exactly that too. Obviously, I'm very pro-gun too, so stopping any kind of gun control, something close to my heart, especially
constitutional.
Especially considering we stopped a terrorist attack in the middle of a gun-free continent. I don't think gun-free zones
that
work.
wasn't supposed to be there.
Yeah, 6 weeks after our terrorist attack was the UCC shooting.
Yeah.
The very next week after that, Spencer got stabbed in a bar fight again. And my little brother had asked to loan him his Glock, and he said, "No, I'm okay." And then he gets stabbed again. So you just never know what's going on. Second Amendment is something that's very important. I mean, even the First Amendment is under attack right now, and that's something I never thought would happen.
Yeah.
So, like I said, we're just at a very perilous tipping point in this country and in this state. And so
the First Amendment stuff is crazy too.
That used to be a liberal thing,
It's not like they're attacking it completely. It's just they only want their
just
voice to be
it.
heard.
Theirs.
Exactly.
No one else's.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's okay. First Amendment's okay as long as you're on the right side.
Yeah.
So,
we just want to ban hate speech. Unfortunately, if you're a Republican, you only say hate speech.
You're a Nazi.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not, again, with politics, it's like you can't take anything at face value, no matter what it is. So that's why I think voters now need to be smarter than ever before, just because.
Well, I think it's a positive I see with the internet and everything. The information is there if somebody wants to look it up.
Well, I mean, at least while we're speaking, Trump just did Joe Rogan's podcast, got over 100 million views.
Yeah.
And then
JD Vance just did Joe Rogan yesterday, and he honestly did even better than Donald Trump did.
Yeah, it was awesome.
I mean, it's the amount of free speech that's coming out of podcasts and just the internet in general is absolutely fantastic. And
so the information's there. It's, it's this time and age is the easiest for someone to get all the information, both sides.
Yeah, but it's also, in a way, it's almost so watered down because there's so many different opinions. You kind of need to pick. You need to kind of figure out what your personal beliefs are, and then follow a couple people who you think align with that, and then kind of weigh their opinions against other people that you follow who you respect. There's a handful of people that I follow, whether on Twitter or whose podcasts I listen to, that are thought leaders. I hate that expression, but
general consistent, of what's moral and your idea of moral.
Well, there's just a couple people that are very intelligent that I agree with on most things, and I'll listen to them and their opinions on certain issues. And if they ever disagree, I kind of weigh the arguments in my head and make my own decision. But, it's just...
That's a good way to do it, though. Because I've talked to a lot of people who I don't really think they know what they believe. You know? And they kind of...
Or they might believe something, they just don't know why.
Yeah.
Which I think is more common. They kind
of pick somebody that they admire.
Yeah.
And kind of just emulate their decisions. So, I mean...
Yeah. Well, that's kind of what I compare, Trump and JD Vance. I think Trump knows the right answer. He just can't necessarily articulate why.
Right.
Whereas JD Vance knows the right answer and can tell you exactly why. and the pros and cons to both sides of
he's
the
a
argument.
super smart guy.
He's very articulate, and that's why I think he will be
He's a true politician versus somebody that's in there.
Well, just an intelligent guy, too. I mean, politicians were supposed to be the best of the population, and they were sent to represent the population because we're a republic, not a democracy.
Yeah.
We're supposed to say, hey, you're the smartest one of the group.
And then
you go and represent our beliefs. You know what we believe. You know what's good for us. Don't make us read all these complicated bills and vote on them because we're not a democracy. You read all of it. You understand it. You know what we believe. You know what we want. You go represent us in Salem or Washington, D.C., and that's how it was supposed to be.
Definitely.
But if you look at all the people, that are in office now, a lot of them probably aren't even in the smarter 50% of where they come from.
Because they get the
actual, came from the right family.
They came from the right family,
the
or
actual term of democracy.
Whatever.
Knowing that we're what is it, the Democratic Republic or
those are communist countries usually.
Right. What I'm saying is they get all that confused. And
people confuse democracy with a republic, and we're not a democracy.
No,
we're a
constitutional republic.
Exactly, and that's how it should be. And there's a reason we're set up that way.
You're ruining our democracy.
Exactly. They don't even know what they're talking about.
Right. Right.
Yeah, it's all interesting, and I'm learning as I go. That's fun. So what are some of the stuff you got planned for the future? I mean,
honestly, right now I'm just focused on going up to Salem and trying to be the best state rep that I can be.
Yeah.
A lot of issues coming down the pike that I know we're going to have some big fights on our hands. Hopefully after this election, we can stay out of the super minority in the state house. But as long as that happens, we should be in an okay enough position to stop most of it. So honestly, that's really all I'm focused on. Just that and working on my property. That's all I pretty much have for the future.
and building your little Cerakote business.
Building a little Cerakote business. So let me know. Douglas County Cerakote, if anyone needs any Cerakoting done.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Certainly.
Yeah, we'll get your link on our website here pretty soon.
Yeah.
And like I was saying, hopefully you'll come hang out with us a little bit at the Sportsman Show in February. And
hopefully we should have weekends off.
We'll put some stuff on display, and
that'd be great. I appreciate it.
Cool.
Maybe come up with some cool projects.
Yeah.
So
can't wait.
So what are some of your favorite firearms? What's your favorite carry pistol? What kind of stuff do you got on your bucket list?
I carry a 43X Glock.
Yeah. That's what I carry.
But I would say those new 365s that have the comps built in are super nice guns.
Mm-hmm.
So I carry a 43X just because it's small. Like I don't like putting lights and red dots on my carry gun just because then it gets too big and bulky and I don't carry it. I've got a really nice 11.5 AR-15, and then I've got a really nice 14.5 Radian. That Radian is probably my catch-all gun. I shoot 77 grain, can go out to 600 meters easily. It's still short enough to be, normal. It's pretty heavy. It's got a 1-10 Vortex scope on it, so that's a really nice gun. I love my 300 Win Mag also. It's kind of like my dedicated sniper rifle, so to speak. But I just like guns, period. I love nice guns, obviously. Who doesn't? But Radians, I want to get a Noveski one of these days. My 11.5's Geisley. I got night vision now. I got dual tube katanas, which is super fun. So I'm really getting into night vision.
So if anyone decides to find out where your property's at, they might run into you in your area with night vision on.
How are you doing?
In the middle of your property.
Yeah. I've got a B.E. Myers Mall on my 11.5. I've got a Steiner D-Ball D2 on my Radian. So just, I don't know. I just love nerding out about everything. I've got a thermal coming, the RH25 V2. So yeah, I just love changing my setups around and trying to figure out what's the best way to go.
Nice.
And we just do a lot of shooting on my property, so it's really fun to being able to move stuff around and zero it and test it all on my property without having to leave is super nice. Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I'll have to come out and check it out.
Yeah.
I'll have to play around a little bit.
Do a lot of shooting drills too.
and-
Yeah. Bring shooting timers and we do a lot of drills. It's a lot of fun. I
Excellent.
just need to get in better shape, honestly, if more than anything else.
Oh, you'll feel like you're in great shape if I come out. I'll be over there winded every 2 seconds.
Dude, I'm winded. I need a cardio is what I need to work
Oh,
on.
shit.
Yeah. If you can't tell, this body was not made for physical activity. So,
Yeah. I've got a ton of Glocks too. None of them are stock anymore.
Yeah.
'Cause whatever. But yeah, I got a bunch of Glocks. I've got the, my competition gun is the Prodigy by Springfield Armory.
I really like that.
Yeah. Gene Morin, who shoots USPSA here, is a really good dude. And he kind of recommended that. So I really like that. I do have a couple 1911s, couple revolvers, but for most of my handguns are Glocks.
That's excellent.
Mm-hmm.
Right on. Like I was saying, we'll partner up soon on doing some Cerakote jobs and
Yeah.
maybe doing some cool little builds and show off what you can do and show off our ideas here at the shop. And
Yeah, it'll be super fun. Look forward to it.
yeah. I was trying to think. There was something else I was going to go over, and I don't even remember what it was. Yeah, whatever. I don't remember. So what kind of stuff would you like people to know about you? I mean, like I said, you're a pretty quiet guy. So, I mean,
I just really like to shoot guns.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I like shooting guns and working out. I have pretty basic dude hobbies. So nothing crazy. I do like to keep to myself mostly. So I like to just cruise around my property on my side by side, train shooting guns, training at the gym. And,
sounds like pretty fun, actually.
I'm kind of a nerd now when it comes to politics. I really like learning more about politics and political theory and why the world is the way it is, why our government's set up the way it is.
That's what we need.
I recently read Churchill, Hitler, and the Unnecessary War about World War II, which is fascinating. Just talking about
totally into the same stuff you like to read.
Yeah,
Have you read that book?
That's that's
should.
definitely what we need. Is
It'll blow your mind.
people in your position to
It talks about pretty much how World War II was very avoidable, and
yeah,
it's just really fascinating talking about like the interwar period. Everyone knows that like World War I kind of caused World War II,
yeah,
but it goes into all the decisions and things that led up to World War II.
Sure.
Basically talking about how any one of these decisions, if they had gone the other way, World War II would
have never happened.
And it's really just a fascinating book.
Kind of like the Pearl Harbor,
Yeah.
aspect of that
God,
should
even
have
that, though,
never fucking happened, and
Well, they
some
Yeah,
people
anyway.
conspiracy of it happened for a reason.
Japan.
They made it happen.
Japan should have never even been on the
No.
German side in World War II, but the
Nope.
British and the Americans kind of forced
Forced
that way.
them.
Same thing with Italy. It's really crazy when you actually go into the details of all of it. But
Yeah,
I'd recommend everyone read that book
Oh, yeah.
because it's one of the best ones I've ever
I'll look
read.
into that.
Yeah. Anyway, so I've just been, I've been really into like historical podcasts, political podcasts, and books, and just trying to learn as much as possible, especially if I'm going to be a state rep in January. I want to kind of come in as well-rounded as
I like
possible.
That's pretty inspiring. That's what we want to hear, or that's what I want to hear, anyways. I can't speak for
I've
everybody.
been doing politics
but
for so long, you kind of just have to enjoy it, and
yeah,
it's.
you would almost
doesn't-
have to be.
It doesn't seem like it's fun, but it's actually really fun when you get down.
No,
to the
you'd have to
weeds.
have an interest and a drive to fucking
Yeah.
learn more.
Well,
and,
yeah, obviously you got to have an interest to pursue it. I mean, if you barely had an interest
And-
in
and-
it and
yeah.
you lost one time, you'd be like,
Well, I
I'll
don't-
do something else.
Unless you're like the Pelosi's or whatever, you're just there for money, and
Not being a state rep, unfortunately.
yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. I thought politics was a lot of money and stuff too, and then I realized that at least on the state level, for the most part, most of the state politicians aren't making a lot of money. That's why they still have their own
Yeah.
jobs.
Well, that's why they're trying to put a ballot measure on to have a separate
Let
committee.
let them
create a
make
pay
their own
raise.
pay
so
raises.
they can quit doing their own
Because
job.
Yeah,
in my
it's
opinion,
not.
it was never made for someone to get rich and for someone to gain money. And
Well, the other thing is, if you wanted to pay politicians more, you'd probably get better people. Is the other thing too.
yeah,
There's countless. I mean, I agree with you that it should be high turnover volunteer type position. But now that it's really not that anymore,
Yes.
It's like I can't see us walking it back ever.
No.
But since it is almost like a professional job now, it's like we honestly should pay people more, not because politicians deserve better pay, because I don't think they do, because Congress's approval rating is in the toilet.
I'm with you,
but
100%.
because it'll get you better people.
Yes.
There's so many people
It'll
that
get
I've
the
talked
right
to about
people.
running for Congress where these are successful retired business people.
Yeah.
They're not, they'd be, even if you paid $400,000 a year for a congressman,
they're taking a pay cut.
They'd still be taking a pay cut,
Yep.
but it's at least not, they wouldn't feel like they'd be doing it volunteer. And the other aspect is they know they're going to get their life torn apart if they run for office.
Yeah.
They're going to get criticized by everybody. There's going to be millions of ads on TV spent about what a terrible person they are. And they're like, why would I do all of that? I'm retired. I'm successful. I've got grandkids. Why would I put myself and my family through all of that for a job that pays next to nothing?
Yeah.
And if you think about it on the other end too, if you got like a successful young businessman that's coming up in the world, why would he want to derail his business prospects and his future to getting into politics? And that's something where, okay, maybe a good paying job would actually help. And
100%.
when you think about what people in government make, a lot of people in government make way more than the politicians do.
Yeah.
And that's and that's also why, bribery comes into play. These politicians aren't making any money. And so all these corporations and lobbyists can throw some money around, and, then you're going to get this politician who makes no money to make a bad decision because he was able to get bribed for $10,000. Whereas if he made $400,000 a year, at least
he would have made
his threshold of bribery would either be much higher or he would make enough money to where he's like, hey, I don't want to risk my job by taking this bribe. I mean,
100%.
Again, unfortunately, I just don't think we could walk it back far enough to where it would make sense. So, at least maybe pay them more so that you get more reliable and better people. But who knows?
With that thought process right now that you just spoke of, that's what we need.
Yeah.
That's the future in my eyes, is more people like that to see that it needs the just total overhaul.
Well, you also need people that aren't career politicians.
Yeah.
Because a lot of these people, especially on the Democrat side,
they have zero.
Well, they start in local politics when they're in their 20s. Then they get up to like state level politics in their 30s. And then by their 40s, they're a congressman.
Yep.
And they've never run a small business. They don't know how real people make money. They don't know.
Totally out of touch on everything.
Exactly. And then they make these decisions based on their feelings and research studies and not what the people in the district actually want or care about.
Unfortunately, that's it.
You talking about that stuff reminded me of what it was I was going to ask you about.
Uh-oh.
No, I like I said, when I do my research to try and get ready for a guest, normally there's very little for me to look at, and you're like the first actual like person with any fame that I've had, other than just local. So I mean, there's tons for me to see on you. And one thing I did notice was because of you going into politics, you've got a lot of just negative stuff.
Oh yeah, no, that's great.
People trying to beat you down, and
which I understand. I mean, that's part of the game, right?
Yeah.
How's that affect you though? I mean, it can't.
Oh, it's fine. I mean, to be honest,
trying to dig up stuff that.
Like I said, I'm kind of an introvert anyway, so I don't really, unless I know someone in real life. Like if someone doesn't like me because of my politics, I really don't care. If they don't like me because of an ad they saw on TV, I don't really care.
Yeah, that's totally different.
The only people's opinion I care about are the people that I look up to and the people that I know in real life and respect.
That's
I don't care
pretty
what
admirable.
Some communist in Eugene thinks of me or writes on Twitter. But to your point, I mean, we had.
I even saw where they used in a negative campaign ad what had to be literally taken out of context, a little snippet of you laughing about something on a podcast.
I mean, to be fair, that one wasn't really taken out of context. I just said some stupid stuff on the Black Rifle podcast and they ran with it. But to your point, before that, they had made a FEC complaint to the Federal Elections Commission saying that I had stole money from a veterans charity, which was just absolutely false.
Yeah.
And the only reason they do that is because it takes the FEC 6 months to like adjudicate that and realize that you're not in violation at all. And it was just a made up.
It ties things up.
But for 6 months, they can say he's under FEC investigation for stealing money from a veterans charity.
Ties shit up.
And so they do stuff like that. And then when you're at the congressional level, they do something called a research book, which is like every negative thing you've done in your life. And they put it all in a big book. And mine was like 600 pages long because it was like stuff I wrote on Facebook when I was like 13 years old, calling my little brother, you know, a bad word or something like that.
He said boobies.
I mean, they had, yes, I mean, literally stuff like as immature as that, or even stuff that they knew wasn't bad, but that they could portray in a way that looked bad. And so you go through like all the stuff that they had. I mean, like for like that podcast, for instance, that I did that they ran with, if they didn't use that, then the next thing on their list like would have been something just totally random or made up. And then if that didn't work, they would have went down to the next thing. They had like, you know, things like, oh, he paid a lot less than asking price for his house, and the guy that sold him his house owned a timber company. Maybe it was a bribe in advance.
He got a special.
I mean, they absolutely do
grasping at straws.
And again, if they don't
making shit up,
they can make something up like the FEC complaint. Like there's always something. There's a woman right now that's running for the congressional position that I ran for. She has an excellent resume, is a fantastic person, but she accepted the nomination of the Constitution Party. And so because they can't find anything terrible against her to use in a TV ad, they're saying, well, the Constitution Party believes this niche obscure thing, and you accepted their nomination, therefore you believe it, so we're going to run that in a TV ad. God. And that's what they're doing right now. I mean, it's ridiculous. And of course they phrase it in a way that's very believable. And it's just crazy because when someone lies about you when you're running for office, you can't like sue them for defamation. No. The only way you can sue someone for defamation is if you prove that they knew that they were lying about it. Right. So they could lie about something, but if they believed it was true,
their defense is, I didn't know.
Well, exactly. You have to prove that they're like, well, we know this is false, but we're going to do it anyway. And how do you prove that?
What I've noticed is the more people try and fight against it, the more you're like, well, maybe they're just trying to cover it up.
Well, and that's what's great about President Trump is that he's had so much terrible stuff come out about him. Care. And people just don't care about it because they're like, yeah, we knew he was kind of
that's where the phrase
we knew he wasn't perfect to begin with, and we were prepared to vote for him anyway.
That's so Trump being Trump.
When we find out all this stuff about him, we don't really care. He still is a great president, and we're going to do it anyway. And that's,
He's got freaking legal secretaries and shit that say, oh, well, I slept with him once. Well, they're like, he's a millionaire. He's
45 years ago.
A bunch of women like that.
It's just, it's, again, that's just kind of what ruins politics for a lot of people, because a lot of people see like what happened to me when I ran for Congress, or what happens to all these other people when they run for higher office against a Democrat. And they're like, well, I don't want that to happen to me, so I'm not going to run for office. And it's terrible because then it just, frankly, you just get some of the worst people running for office because they're the ones that want power. Because if you take out all the good people, the only ones left that are running for politics are people that want power.
Have you had days though where you just went home and you're like, I don't know why I'm doing this?
Oh, for sure. Oh yeah.
How could you not?
I mean, again, I don't really care. Like I said, I don't really care what people think of me if I don't know the person or look up to the person. It's like the what's the Kanye West quote? I don't look up to people less successful than me. I don't care about someone's opinion if I don't know who they are or care about them or they're in my personal life. But
I heard a quote recently. It was, don't ask for advice from people
less successful than you.
Don't care about people's opinion that you wouldn't ask for advice.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that, but still, there was some of it that just was like, just so bad that, even though I didn't really care, like it affected my friends or my family or even my campaign team was like, they're running all these negative ads. We know we're going to lose. Like, it's just depressing. And, it's hard to work for, 18 months out of your life and raise all this money to run a campaign. and they just know you're going to lose because there's so many Democrats in the district and they're running all these negative campaign ads against you and they're outspending you. And you just realize that there's no way that you can win. You can make it close, but the second you make it close, they're just going to throw more money at you so that you can't close the gap.
Pretty much what DeFazio did.
Well, that's exactly what happened. I mean, the previous people that ran against DeFazio would lose by 15 points. And we started doing better and better and better. And about the time we got within 5 points of winning, they just dumped a bunch of money on us. So we couldn't ever make up that ground. And it's just a shame, but that's kind of how it works.
So do they, I follow the local, I guess you would say, Facebook stuff out of entertainment for myself, just reading about it. And it seems like there's certain individuals, like Virgil, for instance. Mm-hmm. There's one certain guy in this community that just goes out of his way to bash Virgil every step. The one guy. Did you ever run into that with just one person?
Oh, for sure. I've got like a couple.
It's like it almost makes you think that somebody's going out of their way to.
It's just how it works. Honestly, in some ways, local politics is worse than like larger politics because it's all personal because it's all from a small community that you know. And
but it gets to a point, it's like, dude, shut the fuck up. What are you bitching about?
People that actually know you from
personal.
Well, exactly. And this guy might have had some personal beef with Virgil going back to high school, and now that Virgil's a state rep,
exactly,
he attack him publicly and make a big deal out of all this stuff. I've had stuff like that happen before too. It's just
that's crazy.
It's just the nature of the business.
Terrible,
and it is
terrible shit.
But it's just something you kind of have to. You kind of have to just realize that's going to happen regardless and figure if you want to do it or not before you even dip your toe in it.
Copy. Yeah. That's a good way to look at it right there.
Yeah.
Well, I really like it, dude.
Yeah.
I like it. I like the way you think about things. Like I said earlier, I've known you for a little bit with the store, coming in the store as a customer and whatnot. And I've gotten to know you a little bit. But I feel like I know you a lot better now after hanging out for the day. And
well, thanks for having me. Thanks for lunch too.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I've never met you before. Read a lot about you, obviously, and it's just an inspiration to me to meet somebody that's doing what you're doing. I appreciate it.
I'm trying my best.
I fucking appreciate it, dude.
Well, thanks.
100%.
Check back in a year or two, and hopefully
I'm not going nowhere.
You guys off.
I'm not going nowhere.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I really appreciate you coming on the show, taking your time.
Well, thanks for having me. Really,
yeah.
It actually made me a little nervous having you on the show because when I was doing my research, I was like, this guy's been on like a million freaking other podcasts. I was like, he's going to be like, this is the worst podcast I've been on.
Ever. Carlos, you suck.
That's fun. I like the more laid back ones anyway.
Yeah. Well, that's all this is just people hanging out.
Just
talking.
BSing. Yeah.
I that's what I enjoy. So I like hearing a little bit about people, hearing what people are passionate about, and just getting to know everybody on a personal level. So
have me back on in a year or two, like I said, and we'll figure out what's going on in
100%.
politics and where I'm at then.
Yeah, who knows? You could be, maybe you just started too high and you had to start and work your way up.
You're young.
See what happens.
I'm going to tell you right now, you're young. You got a long...
I'm 32 now.
Oh, fuck.
That's young.
Yeah. You could be,
I got back pain, man. I'm an adult.
Yeah, I would say, what? Another,
you're for sure an adult.
another 20, 30 years, you might be running for president,
I would never go that far.
Oh, come on now.
I saw how bad Congress was. I don't know if I'd ever want to go higher than that.
There you go.
Yeah. But no, I really appreciate you coming on the show.
Yeah.
I hope you had a good time.
For sure.
I'm sure my listeners will appreciate you coming on, getting to know you a little bit better. If they haven't watched your movie, I think they should, because I thought it was great.
Oh yeah.
Yep. 15-17 to Paris. It's very accurate.
Highly recommend it.
And it's especially interesting after you know that. Well, even now, I didn't know it was all the same people.
For me, it's cool
I thought it was
as
just you
fuck.
and your buddies that were the same people. So I mean, now I'm even more interested in it. Now I think it's awesome.
Clint Eastwood has always been my fucking hero, dude, and it's just that's cool that you got to interact with that guy.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. You've got to meet some of your idols.
Fuck, that's badass.
It is. It's very cool. A lot of cool people.
I love it.
And it really talks. you've said several times while we've been talking that everything happens for a reason.
It does.
And I think your life is inspired by that. I mean,
Well, you can't. I mean, again, everything.
You can't argue with it.
Yeah, I mean, we've been so incredibly lucky. I mean, being in a terrorist attack, surviving a terrorist attack, being the ones that stopped a terrorist attack. I mean, just that is like way more rare than being struck by lightning. And then to have all the experiences we've had since and have the life that I've led since, I couldn't be more grateful and more lucky. I mean, and it's just not
little things that have stacked on top of each other have sent your life in a total different trajectory than you thought you would go in the first part. And I think that's pretty cool.
Definitely.
Pretty amazing.
Well, thanks so much, guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks for being on the show. And I look forward to working with you some more in the future. And
we'll do this again.
You got anything to say, Mike?
Thank you, man. Thank you for what you do.
Right on. So I guess we'll call it a day. And until next time, you guys have a good one.